What's good, people? Tunji again from Ceasar Graphix, and this is what we're going to be doing today. So without any further ado, let's just jump into today's tutorial. So I have my Photoshop already open with the design. So for this tutorial we are going to be using this frame size for this tutorial. So the frame size is, so our width is going to be 300, all right, and the height is going to be 1001. So I decided to use this side so as to be able to embed it into my Instagram page, like to be able to post it on my Instagram page. So I'm going to hit create. So allow me just to give you the little information about this tutorial. So what actually inspired this tutorial. So I was thinking of what to do, and this thought of this guy named John came to my mind, that was kidnapped from his parent when he was 5, and he was given this mark when he was fighting for his freedom. A lot of things, I have so many things to say about this, but I don't want to stress this tutorial. So let's bring in the picture of John. So the exercise file we're going to be using for this tutorial is going to be in the, I'm going to put it in the link below. So I'm going to scale the picture real big, like so. All right, and I'm going to position it somewhere here. All right, yeah, that's the design, sorry. I'm going to position it somewhere there, and I need to move this off my screen. All right, so I'm going to position here, and I'm going to push this somewhere around here. All right, then the next thing I'm going to do is to create a new layer. All right, and I'm going to draw a marquee selection on the layer, like so. Okay, then I'm going to hit Control Backspace to apply the color of my background. All right, so I'm going to go to select now and deselect the marquee selection. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in the image of the mark, like this car. So I'm going to drag this and drop, and I'll scale this real big, like so, and I'll position this here. Just going to scale it. So the only one I need, the only mark I need is just this. So I'm just going to double click and create a marquee selection. So I'm going to remove just these two, and I'm going to excuse me. So I'm holding on Alt now, and I'll click so as to just take out the two marquee selection, and I'll create a new layer, and I'll call this mark. All right, or let's just call it car, because that's the title of this movie poster. And I'll hit create, and yeah, so I'm going to fill this with black, all right, which is the color of my foreground. So I'm going to hide this, and I'll hit Command D to deselect. So I'll position this where I want it to be. So I'm going to hit Command T to bring out the transform adjustment, and yeah, so I'm going to all right, so I'm going to rotate this like so. All right, then I'm just going to position it where I want it to be. Just scale just a little bit. Then the next thing we're going to do is to adjust the sky, because I don't like the fact that this width is too wide. So I'm going to go to filter now, and I'll select Liquify. So I'm going to use the Liquify adjustment to adjust this. So I'm going to be on the forward warp 2, and I'll increase the size of my brush with a square bracket. So I'm just going to push this in. All right, reduce this, push this in. Alright, so I'm gonna hit OK now, and then we have this. But I think my scar is too big, so I'm going to hit Command T, and I'll just push this up like so. Alright, so I'm just going to push this to about this level. So now start to first. The next thing we're going to do now is to take out the part that we don't want, because I don't like the part that's touching the eyeball. So I'm going to create a mask on the layer. I mean vector mask, sorry. Then I'll select the polygonal lasso tool. Then I'm going to zoom in with Ctrl plus, and I'll use spacebar to drag my screen. So anytime you see the X times 6, it means I'm pressing this spacebar. So I'm just going to choose the lasso tool instead. Then I'm going to just brush like this. Alright, then I'll drag it down till about here, and I'll just do the same thing again. Alright, then I'm going to hold down Control and hit the backspace to add the background color to my vector mask. So now, as you can see, I have that part visible now because I just apply the black color to my vector mask. So I'm going to hit the deselect menu option. But I notice I'm seeing too many. I've added this too much, so I'm going to just reduce it just to smoothen it a bit, and I'll come here and add white to it again, just to cover those parts that I noticed I added the effect. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is to work on this. So first I'm going to pick some part of this guy of John's skin by first hiding these two layers. Alright, and I'm going to create a marquee selection, and I will drag to just select this part of his skin because we need to add texture to the scar mark. Alright, so the scar. So I'm going to just select the layer of John, and I'm going to hit Command J or Control J on my keyboard to make a copy, and I'll position this above the layers. Then I'll hide this layer. So this is the layer, this is the cut out part of John's skin. So I'm going to hit the move tool, and I'll move this here, and I'll hit Command J to make a copy, and I'll put this here, and I'll flip it this because I need to make this look as if they are together. So I'm going to hit Command T, and I'll flip it like so, and as you can see, it looks as if the skins are together. So I'm going to mesh this. So I'll shift select the two layers, and I'll go to layer, and I'll select mesh. Yeah, that's the option. So merge layers. So now I'm going to make a new copy again. Alright, so I'm going to just push this aside. I'll do the same thing. That's the shortcut is Control E. So I'll make a new copy again, make a copy. So what I'm doing is I'm duplicating the layers. So I'm going to just mesh this. Now do the same thing. Now mesh this. Turn this down. Then select the 180 option. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to push this down. This should go up like so, and I'm going to rotate this one by hitting the Ctrl T, which is the transform adjustment, and I'm going to click on the 180 degree option. Then I'll push this here. Then I'm going to mesh the two layers. I'm going to hit Ctrl E or Command E on my keyboard, and then the next thing I'll do is to put this inside this inside the claw mark layer. So I'm going to hold on Alt and click to put this inside the claw mark layer. So I'm going to reduce the size, and I'm going to Command T to bring out the transform adjustment. So I have to reduce the size of this. So now the reason why I'm reducing the size is so as to be able to see the noise on the skin. which is what is going to give us the effect that I want on this car. So I'm just going to position this here. I actually like this effect here, so I'm just going to scale it a little bit big, and I'll hit enter. All right, then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to make a duplicate of these two layers, so I'm going to drag and drop like so, and I'll hit Command E to mesh the two layers. So I'm going to hide these ones, so I'll put them in the folder. So I'm just going to call this close. All right, so I'm just going to hide this. Then the next thing I'll do is to go straight inside the FX button here, and then select the inner glow option. So on the inner glow option, I need to move this way so you guys can see what I'm doing. So first I'm going to change this color to black. All right, so I'm going to change this to, you know what, let's just use dark brown. So I'm just going to select the dark brown option, and I'll increase the opacity. Then increase the size. Make this go back to normal. So I'm just going to push this like that. So yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it like this for now. So I'm going to hit OK. Then the next thing we're going to do is to add more shadow to the marks. So to the mark. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to create a new layer. So I'm going to hold on Alt and click to bring out the new layer box, and I'm going to call this shadow. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to zoom in. Then I'll make sure I sample a color from here, but this time I'm going to make it a little bit darker. Yeah, so what I would advise you guys do is to copy the figures, like the codes I have here, so as to get the same exact color that I'm using for this tutorial. So I'm going to select my brush tool now, and I'll go straight into my brush setting and just do some adjustments. So it's possible yours is not going to give you this option, so I'm just going to check it, and I'm okay with this. So make sure you are on the soft round brush. So I'm going to hide this and use the square bracket to reduce the size of my brush, and I'm just going to brush like so. Oh, that's way too high, that's too much. So I'm going to go back with Ctrl Z. Alright, then I am going to go to the flow option right here and push this to about let's say 12. And yeah, why I'm using the flow option is so as to be able to control the strength of my brush. So if I make the first stroke now, you see it's lighter. If I keep scribbling on that same spot, you see it gets darker and darker, right? So but this is not part of the plan. So I'm just going to, I think I have that color I use is too strong, so I'm just going to use this. All right, so I'm just going to start brushing like so. Just going to brush like so. So you can, you know, reduce the size of a brush as you progress on the brushing. So if you notice that your brush is getting too harsh on the just, you know, move away from that spot. So I'm just going to start brushing like so. Alright, so I'm going to select the eraser tool now. Then I'll reduce the flow to something around 2, and I'm just going to take out some part of the shadow. Alright, because I notice it's too strong, so I'm just going to do this. So I'm going to push this flow back up, and then I'm going to reduce the size of my brush, and then just brush the edges. All right, just the edges of the shadow, like so. So I'm just going to brush it. Sorry, I'm on the hard brush, so I need to go back to the soft round brush. So I'm going to delete this, uncheck that, sorry, and I'll reduce the size of my brush. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for. So I'll go back to my brush tool now, because I need to just, you know, add some part of the brush on this car. I even need to push some out like so. So I'm just going to increase the size of my brush and just you know, so this will even make it look more real. Eraser tool. So I'm going to just, you know, brush like so. I need to add this part here and this part here. So I'm just going to do something here. So I have to I'll go to my brush setting, and I'm going to check this. Now, if you are not using a graphic tablet, I would advise you use the pen tool options. You're still going to get the same effect I'm about to apply now to this project. So I'm going to go back to the pen pressure because I'm using a graphics tablet. So I'm just going to brush like so. I need to increase the flow back to 100. And I'm just going to brush. Oops, that's way too high. So I'm just going to brush like so. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Got it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to add, we need to add the highlights. All right, so to add the highlight, I am going to go to the adjustment panel of my layer, to the adjustment panel, sorry, and I'll select the curve option here, and I'll push this very high. I'm going to push this up like so, and I am going to hit the Command I on my keyboard to inverse the selection. Sorry, the Control I should just be once. All right, so I'm going to go back to my brush settings now and see if everything is, sorry, F5. So I'm going to just so just in case you can't find this the brush settings button here, simply go to Windows and then look for brush settings here. So the shortcut is right there in front of it. It's F5. So I'm just going to go back to my brush settings and brush options, sorry, and make sure I'm on the soft round brush. And this time I'm going to uncheck this for now, and I'll go to my flow again and just push this back to 10. Yeah, and yeah, my foreground should be set to white. So I'm just going to click on this button to select to switch to the white option, and I'm going to increase the size of my brush, and I'll start brushing. So I'm just going to brush like so. So I'm just going to brush like so. Increase the size of my brush, and I'll push the flow to about 4, and I'll just brush the dust the edges. Yeah, this is good. Then I'm going to make another curve adjustments. So this time I'll push it more higher like so, and I'll do the same thing by hitting Control I on my keyboard or Command I for Mac users. So I'm just going to go back to my brush settings and check this box again, and make sure if you're using a graphics tablet, like I said before, make sure you're on the pen pressure option, and if you're using a mouse, choose the pen tilt. So I'm just going to use the pen pressure, and I'll make sure this is set, my foreground is set to white. So I'm just going to you know, reduce the size of my brush and crank my smooth to something around let's say 55. 54 is fine. All right, so the reason I'm moving the smooth up to that figure is so that when I'm drawing on my screen, I'm not going to be getting this zigzag, this rough drawing. All right, so it's going to make my brush smooth. So I'm going to push this to about let's say 48. So I'm just going to brush now. I'm just going to brush this side up. Okay, so do the same thing here. I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, then yeah, I think we're making progress now. So there's one more. I need to call this, give this layer name. So I'm just going to call it shadow. It should be shadow 2. I mean, sorry, it should be highlight. Sorry, highlights 2. Then this should be the highlight 1. Highlight 1. All right, then I'm going to create another curve adjustment, but this time I'm going to push it down. All right, so I'm going to just call this mid-tone, and I'll make sure I'm on the layer max white box here, and I'm going to hit Command I or Control I like we've been doing, and I'm going to go to my brush settings, remove this from shape dynamic, and yeah, that's it. So I'm going to just reduce the flow to something around 12. Then I'm going to increase the size of my brush with a square bracket, and I'm just going to just brush this side of my mask. All right, so I'm just gonna do the same thing here. So I think my brush setting is too high, so my flow is too high, so I just need to just crank that down. So I'm just going to do the brushing again. Okay, I think we're making progress now. Then yeah, so the next thing I'm going to do is I need to add, I'm going to put all this in a group. So I'm going to hit Command, I hold down Shift to select the layers. I'm going to hold down Control G to put them in a group, and I'll call this, yeah. So on this layer, I'm going to select I'm going to go to the adjustment panel now, and I'm going to select the hue saturation, and I'm going to just click the colorize option here. All right, so I want this to just apply to just this, the scar layer. So I'm just going to click on this icon here, and I'm going to push this till I get to the red part. All right, so I'm just going to push this here like so, and I'm going to just put this here like so. All right, I think I want it this way. Yeah, this is nice, this point, and I'm just gonna move this to about this point right here like so. Image, so I'm going to create a new layer by holding on Alt and click, and I'll call this noise. All right, so hit OK. Then this should be 80 80 80. So I'm going to hit OK now, and I'll fill this with the color, which is the gray. All right, then this should be above this. Yes, it should be above this, and this guy should be above every other layer. So I'm gonna call this the white box. Alright, so I'm going to go to filter now and select noise and select hard noise, and I'm going to reduce the size of my noise to this point. Alright, so I'm going to select the monochrome option, and I'll hit no, you know what, yeah, I'm going to select the monochrome option, and I'm going to just push this down, and I'm going to say okay. Then I'm going to change my blend mode to soft lights. Alright, let's use overlay. I think overlay is fine. Alright, so I am going to let's see if I make a copy of this. Yeah, I think I like it this way, so I'm going to reduce the opacity of this just a little bit, but I'll leave this one the way it is. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to go to the adjustment panel again, and then select the gradients option. So I'm going to pick I need to hide this. Alright, so I have to be able to pick the color from here, so I'm going to select this. Alright, now make sure you are not on this white box. Make sure you select this icon here, the gradient option icon. So I'm going to just push this here, select this, and I'm going to just sample a color from here like so, and then click here again, and then pick the midtone from here. Yes, like so, and then the highlight should be somewhere on here. Now it's not compulsory you use this option I'm using here, so just in case you want to see the color that I'm using, so you can simply use the code here. So this is the code for the highlights, this is the code for my midtone here, while this is the code for my shadow. So I'm just going to hit OK, and I'm going to select OK here, and I'll make this visible again. Then I'll change this to overlay. Alright, I'll make it overlay, but it's looking too harsh on my image, so I'm just going to push this back. Right, just push this back like so. Yeah, I need to make this more darker, so I'm just going to push this down. So just see. Oh no, that's too harsh. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to change my blend mode back to soft light. I think I prefer soft light. Yeah, so I'm going to zoom out with Control minus. Alright, cool. Then add more depth to the image, so I'm going to say burn. I'll change this to overlay and fill this with overlay neutral color. So I'm going to say OK. Then I'm going to go to the burn tool now and increase the size of my brush, and I'll start brushing. Zoom in, and I'll create a new layer again. I'll call this mark line. So say OK. I'll select the brush and hit F5, hard brush. Yeah, this is fine, and I'm going to reduce the size of my brush. Perhaps that. So let us see. Cool. Well, I need to reduce this. So I'm just going to sample a color. So I'm just going to brush, and then the flow should go back to 100. Oops, that's way too high, so I'm just going to brush like so. So I think I'm okay with this, so I'm going to zoom out now to see what I've done. So I'm okay with this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take a screenshot of all the layers. So to do that, I'm going to hold down Ctrl Shift Alt and E. Alright, so I'm going to go to filter now and select sharpen and select unsharp mask. Alright, so I'm going to push my amount to be something around let's say, I think I like it as 35, and I'm going to hit OK. Then the next thing I'm going to do again is to go to filter and select camera raw. filter, and just need to make it look warm. All right, I'm trying to make the artwork look warmer, so I'm going to reduce the temperature. All right, so I'm going like so, and the exposure I'm going to leave that, and for contrast I'm just going to push that up just a little bit, and for the highlight, because I want the lighter part of the image to pop out, so I'm just going to push that up like so. And then for the shadow, I'm going to reduce the shadow. All right, for the white parts I'm going to push that up. I need to just make this one 9, and then for the clarity I'm going to just push that to about this point, just to make it have that grunge look. So I'm just going to push that to about that point here, and then for sharpen I'm just going to push that up to about this point here like so. All right, then I'm fine with this, and I'm just going to hit OK. Then the next thing I'm going to do now is to actually want to look and see if the eye of my character is gold. So I'm going to go to the adjustment button right here, and then choose color lookup. So under the color lookup I'm going to select the edgy amber. Yeah, so next is to invert this, because I don't want this to apply to all the image. So I'm just going to select the brush tool again, and I'm going to use the soft round brush this time. So let's stop on brush, remove this, and make sure this is set to white. And I'm just going to, I need to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to add this to the eye. And then I'm going to pick I'm going to make a new layer now, and then call eye light, because I noticed that the effect is not making the eye look real anymore. So I'm just going to add I'm going to select the polygonal tool, so I'm just going to add white to this part. Excuse me, that's not part of it, so I'm just going to add white. Alright, so I'm just going to select this part also. Alright, so I'm going to just fill it with white. So my background color is set to white, so the shortcut for that would be Control Backspace. And I'm going to deselect this, and I'm going to just put this like that. Yeah, so I think this is it. So drag this and drop like so. So reduce the size of this, and I'll position this here. Yes. I actually don't like the fact that this is white, so I'm just going to drag in the grunge paper file. So I'm just going to scale this real big, and I'm going to position this here. So I got this image from Google, and you can also do the same thing just in case you want to get another type of image. So I'm going to do the opacity. Then for the buildings, I'm just going to add more depth to that. So I'm going to select the curve adjustments, and I want this to apply to just the skyscrapers. So I'm just going to push this down to about here like so, and I'm going to go to the color balance option here, and I'm going to say I only want it to apply to this. Now I'm going to add a little bit red to it. So I'm actually looking at my image here. Alright, so it's what I'm using as a reference. So I'm just going to push so I'm using the color on this image as a reference. So I'm just going to push this to about this point right here. Alright. Yeah, so I think I even need to move the noise. So I'm going to move the noise above all the layers, just to have that noise effect again, but this time I'll reduce it. Alright, like so. Yep. Then I'm going to type my text now. So I'm going to call this, it's going to be Blazing. That's the name of the font. It's called Blazing. going to scale this big like so to red. Alright, so I actually picked the color from this part of the scar, and yeah, I'm going to just select OK, a vector mask. Alright, and the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in the Grunge image from the exercise file, and I'm going to drop it here. So I'm going to draw a macro selection around the image. So I'm going to hit Control Copy or Command, Control C, Control C, and then I'm going to go to the vector mask of the layer. All right, then I'm going of the text layer, and I'm going to hold on Alt and click to go inside the mask. Then I'm going to hit Control V or Command V to paste the image. So I'm going to select the transform tool, and I'm going to scale this real big. All right, like so. Then I'll rotate it. All right. So since I know where my image is, I'm just going to my text is. So I'm just going to move the Grunge image to that side, and I'm going to hit Enter, and I'm going to select Control D on my keyboard to deselect the macro selection. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this noise effect on the text. So that's why I'm doing all this. So the next thing I'm going to now do is I am going to hold on Alt again and go back to the real look of my output. Now as you can see, I can't see the I can't really see the text anymore. So what's going on is that the image in my text is black and white. So the parts where I have black are the transparent part, and the part where I have white are the visible part. So I need to make the white part more brighter while the black parts darker. So to do that, I'm going to select the vector mask layer again, and I'm going to hit Control L on my keyboard, and I'm going to I'm going to push the midtone to this point, then push the shadow back to this point, put the midtone again, and then the shadow again, and I think I'm okay with this. I'm just going to hit OK. So the next thing I'm going to do is to hit Control I on my keyboard to inverse it, and boom, I have my text layer back. So I think at this point I'm just going to pause the video, and by the time I come back, I will add every other stuff to this design. Okay people, so I'm back. So I've added the other stuff to the design. So I got this credits text here from Google, so you can search for movie credits from Google, and then you're going to get this. And then the font I use here is Bebas. Alright, so I use Bebas here, and then this is Bebas too. But one last thing again that I think I need to add to this image to make it more pop. So I'm just going to create a new layer now, and I'll call this lights. Alright, then for this part here, I'm thinking of adding white to it. So I'm going to switch to white here, and I'll select the brush tool. Yep. And this time I'm just going to reduce the flow again to about 12, and I need to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to do the side of my brush, and I'll just brush this side again. Brush it. Just going to brush it. I want to thank you guys for watching today's tutorial to this to the end. So I'll see you guys in my next tutorial. Peace out.